All right, hello Anita. Very happy to have you here to go over your data of our Hellfire target for the Council of Nine. Before we have you share your screen and share your data, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background in remote viewing or anything else you'd like to share regarding your background?
I'm Anita from South Africa. I've been viewing since around 2014, and I did quite some training over the years with people like Lynn Buchanan, Stephen Swatch, a lot of others. And my statistics are relatively okay. It's in the upper 90s, so I'm pretty confident in most data I get. But we'll leave the making up your mind about what is here, what we're presenting, and we'll leave that to the viewer, to the audience, or whoever is taking this in. It was surely definitely a interesting target. It had me all out there, but we'll go to my sessions and we'll see what's there.
That sounds wonderful.
The first page of the session. I got something. I found myself in a place that was vast and dark and solid and empty, like a single person walking around, but it almost felt like on a different planet. And there was something when I looked up, something in the air, something curvy. I got the AOL kite. And on the second page, I was making contact with something almost like an entity. There, when I looked down, it was like I was looking at something funny-legged, an entity with moving weirdly. It had germ context, but it also felt old, almost like Neanderthal era, going back in evolution, of human evolution. And it was something deep below something, the having depth, being inside something hidden.
You
Not
know,
sure
it's
the
it's been a
location.
what? Not sure of the location. Is that what you said?
The location felt
Uh-huh.
inside. It almost felt alluvial, like it's wet or inside, reminding of middle or lower Earth, something lower or something central, something planetary. Um,
You know, the
I got the
viewers
idea.
that I just wanted to interject. The viewers that have watched the interview I did with Demi will notice that she also had Neanderthal data. And it's been probably a couple of weeks since I viewed your sessions, Anita, and I totally forgot that you had a stray cat of Neanderthal as well. So that's very interesting. Demi, I don't know if you had a chance to look at her sessions, but she also had some Neanderthal-like creatures that she picked up on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I got quite some correspondence with the other viewers. I was really surprised. Um, and I got something like a Columbus ship, like it's a new venture of discovery, but it involved traveling or moving into a different space. Um, and I felt like I immediately picked up on the target, like this is a P7 because of the way I found myself in a different space, relating to the target in different ways, where it is located and what is around it. And then I got this, I don't know, I feel disconnected, like this target is disconnected in some way. It is not human, it is not us, it's invisible, it's below. Um, my first ideogram, I got physical bodied. It gives the idea of being physical bodied, but it's not. It's got personality or biology to it, a human factor, but it's in a way man-made, and it has light aspects. It is structural. It connects to the structure being solid, to physicality or P3 space, physical space, and it involves a switching of things, of dimensionality. It's got a hairy aspect. I put that as a stray cat because that totally didn't make sense to me at the time.
I
And
guess
then
we should
being the
say that
depth.
sorry for stray cat is, I believe that's a Lynn Buchanan term, which for
For
CRV for AOL, another way of saying analytical overlay, right?
There is a big difference actually between a
Okay.
stray cat and an AOL.
Could
A
you explain that
stray
for a
cat,
moment?
yes, a stray cat is when something connects to the to the target. It's something being like the target in some way, but it is not the target. Like when something is red and round, it's describing the target, but you maybe think, oh, it's a ball, and you put down a red ball.
Uh-huh.
So it relates, but it's not the target. Where IOL is more like a memory. A strikeout is totally, it's a conclusion rather. It's saying, okay, I've got gritty and I've got sandy and I've got wet. So I conclude it must be a beach.
Okay.
So it's a conclusion you make.
And for
Um,
Lynn's, the way Lynn teaches CRV, is AOL also a term that you, how do you differentiate when you're doing the session stray cat versus AOL? What's the symbol for?
you've got a feeling of a trail of information making a conclusion. So I've got a lot of data, and you put those data together to make a picture. Then you've got AOL, analytical overlay.
So you will
When
write
you have,
AOL on the paper if it's an
you write
AOL.
AOL
Okay.
and not
I
straight
didn't know
cat.
that. There was a
No,
difference there. Thank you.
yeah, huge difference.
Okay.
Because AOL you cannot use for your session, straight cat you can pull data from that.
Okay.
Um, Upturnment, I felt a definite upturnment in some way. This man-made biological light with depth, it caused some kind of upturnment. Okay, then taking that ideogram apart, I got numerical, physical, body part, enhanced, big, big ass lady, stray cat. I don't know why I put that. It's also relates to the Neanderthal, to being something excavated, African native, soft, warm, but be cold, post, soft, sticky, by natural, earthy, to a gravelly, porous, dark, difficult to breathe. I felt it's difficult to breathe there in that space. So it's somewhere where there's not a lot of oxygen. Where am I in relation to the target? I'm in darkness. I've got a sharded field inside my lungs when I breathe. Having my hands against something hard. Strike at Everest. I feel trapped, lost, blind. I feel breathing hard. I feel mechanical. It feels like I have medical purpose. It feels like I am organic, a partial of like bigger units, strike at body, physical, organic body. Like this is the futuristic. Like this I'm experiencing is something that is still about to happen or has future context. Wet, white, liquid, orange. I'm hidden to prevent further harm. I am hidden from light. I go up and I go down, bounce. I'm cyclic, nuclear context, fusion, fission, gravitational. Now, this hidden, I looked at the feedback, and there is some data there about the Council of Nine hiding because something happened, and they are hidden to prevent harm. So I picked up on that there. Strike at dark matter, strike at watermelon, fridge, big, fitted, round, green, and pink, soft inside, biological, organic, mechanical, programmed, non-conscious, nocturnal. Now, this Council of Nine, I don't know about programmed, but it does involve consciousness, advancing or pushing consciousness forward, helping it along. And
Some
I
of
got
the
nocturnal.
mhm. Some of
Sorry, that
the
was a word I don't normally use. That was strange
oh
to me.
really?
Yes.
I'm noticing with this page of data and maybe the other page, there's some similarities with the other viewers' data. For instance, the hidden data you have there, and then right below hidden, you have something about nuclear or fusion. Both uh, Coral and Daz have part of their sessions describe some kind of an object that's being hidden. Daz and Coral AOL'd Ark of the Covenant, and inside there's a strong energetic, which at least one of them, I believe, AOL'd is like nuclear, and it's being hidden because it can be dangerous. And then a couple of other viewer sessions, Naeem and Dennis, perhaps others, a big theme of their session were bodies that were kind of uh, empty vehicles, possibly biological, possibly programmed, possibly a combination of synthetic and biology that were for some future purpose. And I think you had all of that in there in that page you just read. There were elements of all of those kind of themes that they were just
Mm-mm.
jumping out at me as you were going through it.
Yes. And as I go through, I'm not going to elaborate on that now, but we'll get to that further in the session. I actually picked up on what you say right now, and a lot of my sketches I find do correlate with Daz's sketches.
Mm.
Um, okay. Next page. Oh my God, I'm a monster. That was like a realization. Like I didn't realize I was doing something that monstrous. Like I maybe thought I was doing something helpful. How do you feel about where you are in the target? I need to hide to prevent harm. And then a song comes up, down, titanium. Vehicular, okay, my E3 sketch. I got something radiating. I got something waving or resulting from that, something vehicular, something transported. The core was important, like it's planetary. And then outside of all this, there is somewhere like in space, X marks the spot, but like this is below, this is liquid, this concerns life. And next page, moon landing, like the moon landing is connected somehow. And then I got something like insignia, something wavy, something funny flagged with a logo on, but it had stellar context, outer space. And I went into that. My history, explosive, from inside, cellular. And I was surprised because it felt so vast, but yet it was cellular.
Mm.
Planetary, biological, around and cyclic, something decomposition, being taken apart. And somewhere in this feedback, I read about these Council of Nine entities or these raw creatures having to take themselves apart to entertain a thought or to create a thought form or to respond to something. And it's basically that the idea of thought has to be taken apart and reconstructed to enable certain things to happen. And this decomposition I got, it pertains to it has context to cycles. Okay, it's really number 2 in my sketch. That waving outward felt communicative, restorative, radiating outward and upward, hot, steamy. It's not steam in the context of water. It's steamy. That also feeling nuclear almost. methane, alcoholic, toxic. It's almost like chemical. In the feedback, I noticed there is some chemical context as to human physicality. Okay, next I got whale, fishy, rainbowed, like light context again. Rainbows pertains to light refracting, death, and nuclear. So much of human life involves light and nuclear processes inside our bodies, outside in nature. Okay,
Anita,
S3, number 3 of my
this is a
sketch.
question for you. Um, can you scroll up to that whale-like image again? I'm just curious about your process. When you
Yeah,
with that image, it looks like a whale. Is that this come out like an
it's
ideogram, or was that something you saw, or was that just more of a feeling kind of impression that you drew out?
it's more like a feeling, but it turned out to be like a whale sketch. It looked like a whale, and the rainbow. It's almost like the rainbow came from that, and it. I'm not sure if it reminds of life death processes, the or the aurora borealis coming up the earth, thus aurora lights. It reminded somehow a bit of that.
Mhm.
And also rainbow, the symbolism, the rainbow bridge in death, life, and rainbow, the light breaking up into different things. Um,
Dennis had a Royal Borealis data. That he thought it looked some things he was seeing or feeling looked like that. He wrote it down. I recall in his session.
Interesting. Um, Going on is three, number 3, the idea of travel and unity. Solid adrift, wheeled has round motions, multiple cellular inside now outside. So it's something cyclic that's been inside. I'm not sure if it's the inside the human physicality that's now outside. Upturnment. Um, and I got a feeling of having moved on to number 4 in my sketch, the area marked X outside. So it's something that's definitely been inside the core that's moved outside. Something below liquid life, but it's something foreign, something injected, something put inside. Also reminding of these raw entities may be moving inside the human physicality by thought form or whatever process, chemical, to do this evolutionary advancement thing they had intended. Okay, and then I got this strike at Omicron, microscopic, at large, dispersed scale. So it's something below liquid, but it's at huge scale. Energetic, connective, organic, magnetic, pulsated by sound. Now that hits me by sound. All this happening by vibration, because that was absolutely on target, because all these entities, they do that happens by vibration. Then I picked up on metallic, earthy, planetary, microorganism as animal or microbial host. It has the target involves a host for something, like physicality is a host for all this to happen. And then I picked up on the different layers, this invisible, whatever, involving a host involves layers 1, 2, 3, and that reminded of the P3 of third dimensional, the third dimensionality mentioned in the feedback,
Yeah.
layered and sequenced, like things happen in a sequence.
Yeah, I was
Um,
wondering as well if that was had something to do with the concept of dimensions or densities that comes up in
yes,
the
this is
law of
absolutely the third dimensionality, third density involved here. And I got it is ultraviolet is a certain spectrum in a certain dimensionality or density. This also had its own space where it was operational, spectrumed. I got straight cat violet, and I got a straight cat facial, featured, an idea of it's got a face, it's got a form, it's got a structure, and this involved emotionality, emotional, like emotion gave this form, or a response gave this form, because emotion is feeling about an experience, basically. Like thought is a response to whatever comes to you by your senses. Mechanical, technological, enhanced. So this felt not natural. It felt diabolical in some sense. Non-healing, anti-wellness, but it also had vegetational, like it related to plants somehow. Is 3. Moving on to the next part of the sketch. Planetary central depth inside. I got an AI of mortal fear, and I got a sensation of heartburn and pain, and sensation in the left of my head above my ear. And it was funny because this involves vibration and sound. So I'm not sure if this relates to the target, but I put it as an IOL. I also got left wrist pain because all this was so physical. It didn't feel to me like it related to the target, but I'm just not sure. And then I got a pressurized feeling. Now, one thing I'm actually good at in my remote viewing is picking up on things like pressure and different dimensions and relations to things. And I got this definite feeling of pressurized, idea of fitting around, of almost like around a limb, around your arm, but it's invisible. And the arm is a thing you do actions with. So I'm not sure if this involves our actions relating to our physical human actions, how we express that. But it also involved the idea of a plan, a blueprint. So this blueprint towards physical actions, but it feels pressurized in some way. Okay, and then I again got 1, 2, 3, 4, like a sequence, different densities, different, I'm not sure if it's pressures, different spaces. It felt mechanical. So it's like the 4th density now, not the 3rd anymore. And I also saw that in the feedback, there was mention of like something 3rd dimensionally turning into 4th dimensionality. And this is the progression I also see here in my session. Okay, move to the purpose of the target. Pedestaled eyes. So eyes to me is something concerning observation, not physical, because your subconscious speak metaphorical most of the time. So it's something elevated, something observational, and I got straight cat crab, straight cat mechanical, straight cat medical, again to me referring to the physical body, observational, explorative, and again this this feeling of fear.
How are you feeling about when you were doing the session? There seems to be some, I don't know, negative what I would correlate with a negative
Yes,
AI fear and that kind of thing. How are you
there
feeling
was
about it?
there was something negative about it, that mortal feeling of fear. But often I find that when I explore those feelings further, they often turn out something totally different than what I experience. that it's got totally different contexts from different perspectives. And so I just continue and see what there is, what these feelings are trying to tell me. If it's really mortality that's involved, if there is really concern for being wary or careful or things like that, or if it's something totally different, that it's maybe something you need to just look closer at. So I went on and I got something long, something around biological organic enhancement gone awry. So when I went into that fear, it was because it was almost like it involves biology, human life, but it's something like that's going sideways from the intention that was put forward in the first place. And that was maybe one reason for feeling that fear. Because obviously I'm a human being and it involves my life, so I will feel fear. Okay, succession, even evolutionary targeting. So it's definitely something that was targeted toward evolution. But then something to worship emerged, and that didn't feel to me like it was the original intent. Also, like in the feedback, it felt different somehow, and like some purpose went diabolical. It felt vegetational, idea of reversing time or memory. Now, they speak of this mention of memory complexes in the feedback. Now, I got idea of reversing time and memory to enhance life or flora. Sometimes you need to move backwards to be able to move forwards when you get stuck with something, I found. This reminds a bit of that. It's got a strike at holiday in hell. That was weird. Actually, I think my son has got quite a sense of humor. And I got again this picking up of cowboy boots, of the funny way a cowboy walks, the motion. And I got the strike at amoeba, like a one cellular creature. So it all goes back to physicality again. And then like a marbly pattern round, earthy, like planet Earth. And then like a cross out, that's spot marking X, but it's also like bang, like a collision, but it's like two particles. It also had like quantum physical aspects, so it's vast at the same time as microscopic collision connection, a process of radiating dominoes, domingos, like a playoff or a show off between cowboys. Like there is this controversiality going on between things, which I'm not sure what it is. Dimensions, I got this invisible, dimensional, in my stage 4, upturnment process. Cellular, this again, 1, 2, 3 dimensionality, density, third density. Step sequenced, like it's stepped, like certain processes happen in sequence. Non-profitable, natural, evolutionary, man-made, like somehow it involves our own, I'm not saying intention, but we give rise to that in some way. I'm not sure by our reactions, by our actions, by our physicality, somehow connecting to this vibrational energy or whatever. Orange, brown, brittle, solid, smooth. I prefer not to make any conclusions, to rather just stick to the data, because often conclusions can be very wrong. Solid, smooth, fear, life, death cycle, organic. Methane involves methane, satanic. That was weird. Methane, what's that got to do with satanic? I've got no idea, just put it down. But it's like methane is mostly gas. So there's some negative or controversial context there. Yellow, windy sounds, atomic, nuclear, ultra light spectrum. Again, a lot of stuff repeating. Vehicle, microscopic, vast scale, the idea of a monster. Created by itself. It's something self-creational. Again, taking me back to the previous page, that man-made aspect. It's self-created. Omicron, medical, technological, mechanical. Not sure about that. Unconscious, and programmed. So it's mechanical, it's unconscious, and it's programmed. A lot of stuff not making sense.
Well, again,
But then
that
again,
reminds me of the data that Naeem and Dennis brought through, where there are these vehicles, these basically bodies, vessels being created and programmed for some type of a future purpose.
It also reminds of the feedback where these memory complexes and things where they decide upon a best action for things, and then this get presented to the council, and the council approves things. And I'm not sure always, it doesn't sound like it happens very consciously towards the human evolution. So maybe that is the context of this programming and unconscious and mechanical, that it's not a natural process, maybe. Entity evil, perceived as evil. It's perceived as evil. So it's in essence, it is not evil. Going back to me again to that original intention of it was a good intention, but then something went wrong. Even evolutionary in service of diabolical. Now that reminds a bit of that piece I read in the feedback about in Egypt.
I think I lost you.
It's things that was differently intended, but it went awry. So instead of healing, it went into things like human sacrifice and stuff.
Right.
So it's something going very wrong. Monetary harvesting energetics. Imaginary sound vibration happens by sound in the environment or by the environment. So it's definitely something that was inside the human body that moved outside. This is so strange, as it feels normal and quiet and not very, people aren't aware of it. It's transformative. It changes things or people or biological.
You have that word harvesting there. Is that monetary and then harvesting energetics?
It's harvesting, I put in brackets, energetics, actually. Yeah, it's harvesting and energetics.
Yeah. Of course, harvesting is a word that comes up a lot in the law of one material in regards to the transition of a planet from one density to the other, and the beings that are on that planet either graduating to the next density or moving to a different planet to retake the class, so to speak. So harvest, that's a word that jumps out that I believe it came up in some other sessions as well.
It was interesting to me because it felt so out of place in this session to pick up on something like in this process with energetics involved, there is harvesting of this energetics taking place in some way. I did not probe further into that, for what purpose or how that happens. I got imaginary, sound vibrational. I got, in the feedback, there was some mention of visualizations. I'm not sure if that pertains to that. But this is transformative. And it involves consciousness layers. I got rocky structural earthy dimensions below, liquid idea of a vehicle again, injected again, and gold. I don't know why I got the word gold, if it involves gold or money, or if it's simply that I'm gold, I've got gold here, I'm on target. So I'll go to the second session.
Some of your session data, you know, that supposedly the Council of Nine is their headquarters are within the rings of Saturn. Some of your data, I wonder if you're picking up on environmental data of Saturn. I think there's some possible correspondence with some of that if you took a look at it. So, yeah, thanks for going over that first session. I want to go over my retasking for you just to get an idea of where I was leading you. Actually, got my browser locked up here. What's going
The
on?
first thing that hit me is, wow, look how my handwriting changed.
It does look a little
That
different.
happens.
What's
That happens often in
we
viewing.
have we have a different viewer doing this session. Anita viewer number two.
Next away.
So
Strange things happen in viewing. Um, in one session, no, it's scary sometimes, but it's just the way. It's wonderful how one's subconscious works sometimes. Because one day I just got a visual and I got this word, and it was Egyptian. Well, the visual looked Egyptian, but I never thought of going to look up the word. And it was weeks afterwards I went to look up the word and I saw, wow, this is actually really an Egyptian word, and it's got meaning and it pertains to the target. And I just got, okay,
uh,
this is weird, but it seems to work.
it is fascinating.
It fascinates one. One just never stops learning and getting surprised by targets.
So
Okay.
for the retasking, I gave you three things I wanted you to look at, and you know, with my retasking, I really just uh, brought you back to some piece of data that you had already reported to as much as possible.
Tips.
Create reduce front loading, but I wanted you to take a look at the idea of something radiating outward and upward from a planetary core. It's a piece of comes up several times in your data. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you have a lot of data in that first session about sequenced layers, whether you're talking about layered or sequenced or stepped consciousness layers, a lot of stuff around sequenced and layers. So I wanted you to take a look at what these sequenced layers were about. And then I wanted you to probe the concept of evolutionary and transformative for more data, as that came up several times. You have succession, evolutionary, several times actually. You have that word evolutionary in
Mm-hmm.
your first session. And then I was kind of fascinated with your sketch of that that flag, which when you probed it, I think you got some kind of a stellar component to that flag with
Mm-hmm.
symbols on it. So I was hoping you could get some more data on that as well.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to the session. I'm going to try to keep it short, which is almost impossible.
Oh, you're doing great.
Okay, let's go. Okay, the planetary core idea. I got communicative feeling of being trapped inside. It was like I was inside the human body somehow. Um, Flexible gluey substance, biological microscopic gravity and time involved. Restorative. Um,
Bloody hell, it is hot.
it is hot. It is hot. And I'm inside somebody's body. So it's almost like a fever or like a nuclear energy or something, but it was so scorching hot suddenly. It's invisible, radioactive, in red. I was in red and sticky and liquid, like I'm inside a bloodstream relating to the target where I look where I am. Um, and then there's things moving around me or around the target, white idea of shooting outward, upward, planetary. It also felt planetary idea of being inside a human and being inside the planet, that being the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Idea of, or if the human is destroyed, then the planet will also be destroyed. That is the same thing. It works both ways. And healing, interesting that I picked up on the healing, the main intention of this council of 9 being said to be healing. White radiation being healing. I don't know white radiation, the AI. Strike out white light. Move to the nature of the radiating, describe. Fighting. I'm fighting inside this gluey, sticky gravity time feel inside the human being. So it's like I'm having a evolutionary battle inside the human being, changing tension variables, like changing things between these different densities, shrinking and expanding. Strike out the movie Chronicle theme song coming up.
Good movie. I don't
In,
remember the theme song.
okay, inability to break free. Now that was the big thing that in my target hooked me. That's the one thing that hooked me, that I was inside this human body, and it was like I was having a battle with these tensions and different densities, and I was unable to transcend or break free from the one thing to the next. So it was like a feeling of being stuck inside the human body. Moving to the purpose of radiating, describe healing. Water aspected idea of this binding to water molecules, pH, acidity level, idea of alkalinity, acidity representing either life or death. Virulent chemical in nature to move forward. That's in big letters, so that was important in the talk. To move forward, that was the intent. Strange handwriting, like a doctor. Pollution. I got a name there. Pollock. Laughter. Moving to the next task. Numerical layered sequence, the idea of a plan, stepped numerical consciousness layers. I definitely picked up on something mathematical and numerical. The feedback also states this is very mathematical. Probe this data thread for more info. I got streaming numbers, up and down streaming numbers, digital, virtual, in space, in the air. It's mental. These numbers are mental. It's machine related, machine relevant idea of numbers moving around all that is. This is what everything revolves around. All being numbers, programmed, layer sequenced. I crossed out simulated there because it's very real. It's not simulated. But somehow it reminds of that. Wavy radiated, it's in air, it's in blood, in physicality, it's breathed. It is all that is. It is the crux, the cross, the core of everything. And then I got Jesus. Now, Jesus reminds me of a crossing, and also reminds of that X in the sketch, the cross, center, heart, physical, chronological, organic. Now, the emotion, I picked up on emotion radiates from the heart, idea of beating out a rhythm, doing something with numbers in the air, like emotion or your responses, or beating out a pulse from the human physicality, from the heart, causing a response, doing something with numbers in the air, things around us, being all. Idea of a plan or a blueprint, like this is the mechanism. the blueprint of everything. I got like a sketch of like a rat maze, those things in laboratories where the rats need to follow a certain route to get a certain reward. I got something very entangled like that, equaling something else, being human physicality, like an entanglement. So it's two different things, like an experiment and a human entangling. And from the feedback, this also, things going wrong, felt to me very experimental. Like these raw entities maybe weren't, they had this intent, but they weren't sure of the outcome. Like it was almost like an experiment gone wrong. Liquid, gas, computer circuit, pathway, integral, human invented. It also invented, like it's human thought, creating this pathway of whatever happened. It involves free will. So we've got the choice, but I don't know, oxygen, biochemistry, chemical, hearted, mentality. So there's chemicals and emotion, the heart involved in this mentality or this thought business these raw things are involved in. And I've got to strike out toxic waste. Idea of thought production by the human brain, in actuality being oxidative or oxidated stress. Now, stress is again that tension I spoke about between the different entities, but this somehow creating toxins or waste, not being economical or productive.
I really find this interesting. I'm looking at the page before, and you have that data about the X marks the spot, and it's related to the heart and the human heart being.
It was inside, and now it's outside.
Well, I'm thinking about the law of one material and how the Council of the
Causation.
Nine. They're all about helping humanity to continue to spiritually evolve. And on Earth, the idea is that ideally we're going to graduate from third density to the fourth density, and certainly you could say a component of doing that graduation is an opening of the heart center. So I was thinking of that as I was reading your data about the heart and X marks the spot, and that
Yes,
could
because it
be
comes from the heart.
yeah, and that could be contrasted with the idea that instead of opening the heart, sometimes we get caught in the head and our thoughts, and that if we get too stuck in our thoughts about reality, that could be, you have the idea of it being toxic, and sort of comparing those two concepts of heart versus thought is interesting as I'm looking at
Yes, comparing that those balances and the results manifesting around. And it's like waste set free. It's interactive. It's just reminding that the process, how it works, rather than maybe drawing any conclusions. I don't know where all the shit is coming from. Terminology. It's like there's a terminology change from between where something comes from and between where something is delivered. There's like a term, and I also picked up on that in the session. I don't know where my subconscious was going. It's probably that song affecting me. Looking down, surface silver, liquid, metallic, cesspool, inside, below, concrete. Concrete is something very stable, very solid, very physical. Location measures stats, so something being measured. Strikeout, Jack the Ripper, strikeout, blood. Strikeout, not sure what that is. 1, 2, 3 for mechanical. There's again that dimensionality, third dimensionality to fourth. blocky metallic, human-shaped, non-man-made, machine-made, question mark. So there's, before I got man-made, but now I got non-man-made, so there's maybe both, I'm not sure. Replicated, automated, without human consent or involvement. So there seems to be some part involving human free will and some part that is without human consent. Soul-freeless, auto-ripped. It's like something happens automatically, something is moved automatically. Strange term like movie ripped. It stepped, inhale, exhale, pressure, vacuum, tension, stretch or flex versus shrink. Longitudinal, like breathing, lungs promoting a pulse. Wait, that is different from a heart pulse. Mechanical, invisible, idea of short circuit created, idea of kicking to life, something forced to life, Browning movement, strike at physics, idea of moving air particles, strike at PK psychokinesis. I indeed am exploring PK phenomenon, pick up on this. So it's like what happens here is exploration of something akin to psychokinesis. It's just the idea of it rather than it itself. Stepped, sequenced, idea of fitting together links. Now it's like I've got different things being fitted together, linking, but it's ether-like, like it's quantum physical in a way, in space, invisible, electric, mechanical, spheric, strike at magnetism, not its field. So it's like not the field, it's the energy being important. Not confusing things being important. That felt important to me in the target. Not confusing different aspects of the target, like confusing the field and the energy, confusing the map and the territory, things forming threads in sessions, not to make assumptions, for things may be different than we assume. Sequenced, red, blocky, stitched together, patchwork. Biological. Not know what this is. Feeling Darby will ask what that is. That feels almost like square to me is structural.
Almost looks like a circuit board.
Yeah, it could be. It's always also like those are doorways into a structure. 4 different doorways, like this 4th dimensionality maybe has 4 different doorways. It has different sides, different facets. They can be entered from or moved from. Layered. The different sides are layered. It reminds a lot of a tesseract. Layered. AI, different heights, meta-dimensionality. So that reminds of that fractal aspect in the feedback, where things are within things, within things, within things, that the chakras or what sounded like the chakras or the dimensionalities are fractal, layered. All is something biological, going from one level to a next, the dimensionality, the densities, idea of existing on multiple planes at the same time. So it's like all that is exists in fractal dimensionality space at the same time. And that got to be very dizzying for me, experiencing all these things at once, in different states of energy, motion, matter, the different densities, experiencing them all at once at the same time. The consciousness layers, electric in and out, breathable, mechanic, man-made. And then I got an element of surprise, all this mechanical, man-made, surprised. How is this man-made? What? Numerical, the heartbeat, heart. And then I got this song again, beating like a drum. I got female, I got idea of an egg fertilization, sexual energy, fear, territory, idea of personal space, dominance, external energy, reach. So it's again this inside energy, external energy, but different dimensions, fractalness, nature and purpose of this. Numerical, nature, birth, human, promoting human replicas. So this seems genetic in some way, promoting human replicas or cloning. Purpose, entertainment. The purpose is entertainment of what? What's like it's like sequenced. Nature, then I got 1, 2, 3, and I again got these lines. No, that's normally the ideogram for land, something solid, but it's also different. It's 1, 2, 3 months of that three-dimensionality, creating space, purpose, music idea, harmony, harmonics. So it's balancing, but it's also like the idea of music, the vibrationality. And I got the AI sequence feels so wrong, like something went wrong in the sequence, out of order. The layers, mechanical forming matter, mechanics forming matter. So it's like the vibrationals, the consequences of that, everything went out of order, and like there are consequences. Radiating purpose. Then I got Strika, Ting Tang, Walla Walla, Bing Bang, Witch Doctor Song. A question mark for me to know and you to find out. So it's like everything is not for the purpose of consciousness, for the things happen when something is conscious, things happen because of that. When something is unconscious, other things happen because of that. So some things have to stay a riddle. Something has to stay in the possibility, like it has to stay in the possibility realm, that all is not supposed to be taken inside physicality, like tea taken in. And then I took a break there because I think I got tired at that stage. Can retask, succession, and evolutionary idea of reversing time and memory to enhance life and flora. Sound vibrational happens by sound transformative. Okay, I got this. I've got you hide. This feels so medical.
You got the Neanderthals are coming back here from your first session.
Yes. And I got this almost like a visual being out there on this plane, this empty plane again, feeling other planetary, but stuff planted in the solid structure of it, something feeling foundational, something tall and round, but this is also like biological in a way. Neanderthal period, earthquake, rumor, like it's something, it spreads like a rumor. It's like a vibration, earthquake, but it's like a rumor. And
Mm.
lightning, it involves light and darkness, lightning, light in darkness, like a flash, idea of pointing a way for others to follow, but this being in like this foundation, rock foundations, this being very foundational, very core.
I wonder what this foundational is. To me, when I see that, and I'm also, reaching back to my knowledge of the other viewers' sessions, but when I'm seeing your foundational terms there, personally, I'm thinking DNA, especially when we're talking about the Neanderthals. Could there have been some alteration in Neanderthal DNA that eventually led to humans as they are today by some sort of group like the Council of Nine or connected to the Council of Nine? These little,
This felt very planetary to me, but it also feels cellular. I
mm,
wrote down cellular,
right?
but the fact that it is foundational definitely involves physicality. So you might be right on there with DNA. Cellular, human, biological, flora, microscopic, fungal, frugal. Got the strangest words in a session I never used. Um, I got this biological on one foundation. Then I got the biological on another foundation and the biological on another foundation. So this to me is definitely like evolutionary. You might be right on the DNA. It's foundational. And those lines in the square I got, the
Mm-hmm.
structural with the different entrances. Um, these lines are the same as those entrances into the square, into the cube, but this is the biological, and it's got the same lines. Like this is an access way or a doorway for this.
Mm-hmm.
So evolution, maybe because it's the three dimensionality again, 1, 2, 3, three different levels, three different entrance ways into the structure. That feels just like DNA. Has to do with bone structure or framework over dimensions. Yeah, frame of reference. Um, it has to do with the human frame of reference. Um, referent. Now, referent has to do with judgment. I studied some law, and referent it's like the one side of a case of a defense in a court case of a judgment. So it's like an idea of judgment, a judge, universal judge, agenda. So there I picked up on this agenda of like a universal judgment idea. Also the council, some of the feedback refers to that. Frequency. And I got this ideogram thing I suddenly made out of the blue. And I queried, what is this? And I got frequency. Move to what is evolved to describe. And I got blocky, metallic, fitted, artificially fitted, liquid, radiating. Idea of fitting things into nature patterns. So it's like nature patterns. Now, a pattern is normally a habit or a cycle, and things being fitted, making those habits or cycles useful, putting purpose into that from somewhere else. And I got again hot, so hot. Also in the song, there was heat coming up, hot, and I got fever, and I got of sad, heart broken. Now this idea of opening the heart, but this now I got heart broken. Now is that opening of the heart broken? Did something go wrong there? Is that where something went wrong? Idea of breaking heart rhythms, cycles and pulses, rhythms, vibrations. breaking vibrations. Something maybe went
Well,
planetary nature mechanics.
we certainly could have a few more open hearts on the planet at this time, right? I think that would
Absolutely.
help a
It
lot.
would make things so much easier for everyone. No, it does really change things inward from out to outward. Absolutely. So these rock creatures may still have some good work, even though they think they screwed up. Idea of reset to something else, another baseline harmonic. Now that was really interesting to me. Idea of a reset to something else. Um, like there's a baseline, everything in the universe operates from, like a harmonic, but like this is changing. Um, everything, the foundation, everything operates from that. This is changing. And then I got a AI shit, it's COVID. That should actually have been probably an AOL. Then I got the square again. It reminds of that square I got previously, but it's like this is like the shape of a biological, but the square, this foundation structural thing, is now where the human head should be. Artificial life, emotion, freeless. So it's like something becomes emotion free, freeless, but also less free. I don't know what that means. Lifeless, like something loses some of its life aspects as is known, something is transformed. I got the hour of sadness. Okay, then I got like a process, A, B, C, D, E, F, like a broken cycle. Something in the shape of a drop, but the drop then changes to a square, so something liquid changing into something solid, and something solid directly going to something vaporized, and then something, the vapor goes to something radiating to heat, and then that again goes to something gassy but bigger particled. And I see two different drops. So that is the heat going to something again seemingly liquid, and then to nothingness. And that was interesting to me because the oneness, the nothingness was the aim also in the feedback. The oneness is where the quarantine gets broken. Strike out compromising binding powers of nature or inside humans. So it's like all binding powers when that nothingness goal is reached at the end of the process. It's all binding powers gives way. I'm not sure if that means ultimate freedom, but the idea of opening systems, opening sacred systems. But then the cycle, this is a cycle, and nothingness going to liquid again, to square, to vapor, to this is suggests a current cycle, but the cycle being broken. Opening systems which are sacred. Don't know what that's about.
It's
But the
interesting.
nothingness,
Certainly a lot of data in all of the sessions about cycles, and you seem to have
yeah.
perhaps created some type of a different way of looking, breaking down the cycle. Not sure what it all means, but it's interesting how the data came through and
Mm-mm.
breaking that cycle structure
Yes,
down.
and how the feedback also refers to cycles somewhere.
Yes,
I
yeah,
made notes
absolutely.
on that. I will,
Yep, there's cycles of I believe 25,000 year cycles for third density, and we're supposedly at the end of the last third 25,000 year cycle, and at the end of that 25,000 year cycle, that's when the quote unquote harvest occurs, where people have the opportunity to graduate to fourth density or repeat their density. Of course, I'm sure there's many other cycles as well, but that's certainly one
Mhm.
cycle that comes up in the feedback that is talked about.
Mhm. Yes, and something that was interesting to me is that maybe these entities are only a small space of all that is. Maybe there are other places, other like others processes um, uh, doing things like this in another space. So there's maybe more. That this is just a small picture,
Hmm.
but that's besides the target. Move to what is transformed. Describe uh,
And you have a
water
stray cat of the
structure.
human race.
Yeah. Water structure and its binding powers. Um, now humans are mostly water, oxygen affecting the breath. Move to what is transformed into. Okay, so the water, the breath is being transformed. So natural, that sounds a lot like life. Stemmed, floral, fungal stems, celled.
Yeah, you have
So
a very
it's
floral looking like drawing or ideogram there. It almost, I wonder looking at that if that's metaphorical of human spiritual evolution. We're in these earthly bodies, which you could say are, down at the bottom there you have labeled fungal, but as we reach up towards our
mm,
higher spiritual nature, perhaps we ended up transforming
yeah.
into a beautiful flower.
It's a very complex thing because you've got the physical, the P3 space, and then you've got the mental and you've got the emotional. There's a lot of variables coming into play here to form certain things and have certain things happen. Um, uh, but the water structure being the floral, the sketch, normally my sketches are very on target as to the shape of something
Hmm.
rather than being metaphorical. So
Okay.
it would probably be a more physical thing,
Okay.
and my words tend to be more metaphorical
Mm.
and less physical, um, being like certain things.
So
And the
what do you think we
floral to
could be
me,
looking at then?
the floral to me is more like what's the flora, more like a plant, maybe a plant to me it lives from light basically. It's
Hmm.
it's it's photosynthesizing, photosynthesis. It's working with light, and it's also flora as uh, bacterial, maybe things, small things making up bigger things. Fungal, it's very simple. Fungus is a very simple but very intelligent thing. Stem cells, very basic, very core. So to me, it feels very Neanderthal, very basic, very structural, very prehistoric, almost our base origins.
Mm.
Um, the origins and the mechanism of life itself, of evolution. Um, Natural, emaciated, inoculated, looking into idea of observation and observation effect on external subject matter that feels so lab experimental terminology. That's not the way I speak. It feels experimental. It feels um, observational effect. It's like the idea of observing certain things have consequences. That some things have effects we may not be aware of. Process change, information change. Um, it's like the Council of Nine feedback also stated there. Certain things they do have certain effects, so that's why they don't have that permission to do things. Um, because what they do might change things. So they have to detangle to do things and entangle again to do things. And then everything is different again. Retask for funny flag logo. Now that's the flag, the stellar context. Probe that for more info. What does flag represent to me? I got funny flagged, blinding white, lighted, evaporating, dispersed, vaporizing effect. Planting this. So it's the idea of the planting rather than being the logo. It's got flag context. Yes, it pertains to something or someone, to organization doing something. A flag, dominance, a flag, like when a country has got a flag, it represents like a nation or a dominance, a territory. This is my territory. When you plant a flag, like on the moon, we were here. Now, this flag effect is like it pertains to a certain territoriality or dominance to me. Also, to a lot of things, almost like a corporation of small things forming an entity, like lots of people forming a nation, to a flag representing that. Okay, funny flag, blinding white, lighted, evaporating, dispersed, vaporizing effect. That again reminds of the previous pages, the vaporizing of the process. Planting this, asserting dominance with this process of evolution, developing a plan. Logo green, gold, and leafy. This shape reminded me of Canadian. Venus, intervenus, interstellar. This flag, this dominance is inside the human body. It's supportive, it's transporting, it's intercellular, it's intervenous, Venus. It pertains to transport. It's pertains to the circular system, to the cycle. Invisible. I got invisible. It's like, again, this 1, 2, 3. It's biologicals, 3 levels, but things connecting, because there's biologicals, there's like a line separating biologicals or biological processes, but they are connected. And then I got the shape of almost like a house. In the feedback, some home being mentioned. This house idea of all this involving home or something like it. Brainstem sequenced cage. That was a weird concept. Brainstem sequenced cage. Radiating, far-reaching, human reach, humanoid reach, like human. It's not human, it's like human reach. So I'm not sure whether this is human and this is like human. Different realities at once. I did not quite understand that, so I've got this AI, what the fuck. A flag represents something tall and placed, tall and planted. Marking of territory or domain, dominion. Novice, it's new, so it's not something that's been. It's laying claim idea. I am laying claim on this territory. Asserting dominance, asserting control, meta control. So it's control within control within control within control. It's again that fractal thing, this chakra or density. Also reminds of energy fields, the stronger field dominating, the stronger energy field dominating the weaker energy field. So it may simply be something like sequence rather than physical dominance, as in human control or something controlling something else. That's maybe an energetic control, sequences. Something stronger simply like a planet's that's big as gravitation being more and controlling the movement of the next, maybe something like that. Okay, I panic. What the hell am I viewing here? It feels so god awful. And I got the stray cat. How is correct? The green type. Now, green to me means natural. And I've got a stray cat. Natural nature getting even. Don't know what that means. Nature getting even. Maybe simply that there's a self-correcting mechanism at the end of everything. 1, 2. I do any more things? I think this is it. Yes.
Yep. It looks like that's the end of session 2. So you, thank you very much for going over that. You also have transcripts of, I believe, both of your sessions and a summary of session 1. I enjoyed
Yes.
going through your transcripts as well,
Yes.
and the summary as well. The way you had that laid out was another nice way to review your data. And we'll have the transcripts and the summary of session 1 with
Yes, it gives
all of the other published sessions.
Yeah, it gives a better overview, one-page view of how all the data pertains to the one thing to the next. So you can maybe get a better picture how the data relates from that.
Right.
Let me just see if I've got this here, feedback session summary. Yes, I've got my, I don't know, just calling that up here is what it looks like. The transcripts of the data for those that have got difficulty reading my handwriting. This is the first session.
Yeah, it was interesting when I was going through your data. I think I read the transcript first, and then I read the summary, and both were helpful in kind of absorbing what I was seeing and starting to try to create some themes about what was coming through. So Anita, before we end our video today, I wanted to ask you. I believe you have a website. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the website URL is and what our viewers and listeners might find there?
Our remote viewing and healing website is Optic 3. It's basically services we give while pertaining any information that is required for anything that is not obtainable by any normal means. So we offer our remote viewing and healing services there. And that is basically it.
So so healing, is that healing as another way of using remote viewing?
Yes. Okay. We use MedApps. It's a protocol to assist with things like we don't do things like diagnosis and things, but we can get information that may assist with that. Sometimes people don't have time to bridge waiting for laboratory results, and we can maybe give a better idea where to look for something. The healing itself, Dean Radin, for example, has done a lot of experimentation where things like affecting water with simple thought, and how simple thought can affect things around you, how that have different results. And there's actually, you must actually go and physically go onto the website, go onto Optic 3 and go read up on that to get more detail. Because the explanations are a bit of push for time. We don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
it's going
optic.
to be better to do your own homework and make your own conclusions, and because it's easy to just present something to a person, and we'd like to have people, give them the freedom to make up their own minds and do their own research. So
Sure.
we leave them open to that.
All right. Well, you can find more information about Anita and her work at Optic 3, and that's three not spelled out, so Optic and then the number 3.com. Great. And we'll have that link as well in the video description and the podcast description as well. All right, Anita. Well, thanks so much for going over your data. It's very fascinating. I love to see when the data correlates with the other viewers' data. And of course, you brought through a lot of unique data as well. So look forward to putting this all together into a format for people to review. And of course, I'll get you the links to all of the video interviews once they're all complete so you can take a look at those yourself. Again, thanks so much and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you for a wonderful target.
You're very welcome.